And we're back.
Yeah. Well, you guys won't know. Well, you might know.
No, they will, depending on how you edit that.
I'm gonna leave it all in.
That's fine.
That's podcast starting magic right there. Anyways,
we were at Royalton Industries.
Royalton Industries.
And Mr. Royalton. And how you... Okay, so you were talking about how he came off as creepy as first.
But it was just like, I bought it because eccentric, rich guy doesn't really understand, like, normal family dynamics. Although he did grow up pretty normal himself, so...
Well, I hope you noticed something that he said when he talked about that.
When he talked about, like, that you have, like, a nice family here?
Well, how he grew up and, like, the first thing that he worked on when he was younger.
No, what was that?
He said a Commodore 64.
What is that?
If I'm not mistaken, and check me right now, the Commodore 64 was a very, very, very old gaming system.
Commodore. So he was like a video game person?
No, I think they just used that as like a car, name or something like that.
Oh. Commodore
64. I think it's an old gaming system. If I'm wrong and it is a car, because like now in my head I'm going like, well, is it a car? Shoot. The Commodore 64 just like makes me think of...
no.
Oh yeah, it was an old computer. That's what it was.
Yeah. Wow, look. Amazon is retro. That's interesting. Okay. Anyways. So.
Yeah. But it sounded like he was supposedly talking about working on a car, but he said a Commodore 64. Unless he said he was working on a Commodore 64. It still made me laugh though.
And look, he was great. It was a great sales pitch, business standpoint. He had the boxes checked, made it look like a family business, was really enticing, did all the fancy stuff. Then went and shot himself in the foot like you wouldn't believe.
Well, remember Speed did... Yes, he shot himself in the foot.
He totally shot himself in the foot.
But at the same time, he still thought that he had by far the high ground.
I got what he did towards the end. But... as soon as you belittle somebody, it doesn't matter how you try and reel that back. Like, he didn't have a choice but to go full aggro and be like, you're nothing without me, come back now, because he really didn't have anything.
Oh, but it's still one of my favorite speeches in a movie. It's from a villain anyway. It was so good.
It really is his response a lot better. You get offered, and we see it all the time in today's society, you get offered a certain amount of money, you're willing to kind of...
do just about anything.
Or turn your eye to a lot of things that you may not because,
you want the money.
Zeros are zeros on a check. I don't know.
Right, and it's my job, and if I don't have a job, then I don't have I can't support myself or my family.
And especially, you're talking this guy's got, money is power to some degree.
Yep.
I did there was this moment where they were talking about, oh man, and I'm going to lose it. When you try and think of something, the more you try it goes.
Who was speaking?
Mr. Royalton was speaking, and it was something about...
Is he talking about Ben Burns in the first race?
No.
Or why he spent so much money on that?
What were we talking about? We were talking about how he said no.
And Royalton's reaction. Royalton's response.
So upsetting.
How it's a religion?
No. Oh well. Oh, it'll come to me. Watch it. It'll get there.
What I love about Royalton's response, though, is the first thing that happens when Speed says, "I'm sorry, but my answer is going to have to be no." And Royalton sits there for like a split second, and then the quiet laughter happens. And then you immediately know
he's bad.
This is not good.
and that was my immediate indication of wrong move.
Yeah. Well, and as soon as he said, "You poor naive chump."
Yeah, that was. I was like, not so much. Bad guy.
But God, is his monologue? It's right up there with some of my favorites.
And and perfectly, like, adequately put too, because, like, again, for all intents and purposes, the kid is naive.
Yes, 100%. That's part of Speed's charm, though.
Totally right to say no, but should have totally realized that something like this could have happened. Like, his dad even kind of warns him about it.
Yep.
Like, this is a big company. You guys, even if you guys say what you do, I've seen companies like this time and time again. There is no way
that the law doesn't apply to them.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was pretty impressive that they came out and said something like that. And kind of touched on, I guess, things in, actual reality, where it's like there are these big companies that have so much money that do it can seem like they bend the rules to their own. Yeah. I mean, and still same with billionaires, people with billions of dollars.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, that's going to happen regardless. That will always happen because...
And nothing against necessarily the person. Sometimes it has nothing to do with the person. It's just sometimes money moves obstacles in ways that, isn't really a person's fault or not fault. I mean, right. There are people who just see money and will open doors regardless of how much you say no. People are attracted to money. And it was nice that the kid took a stance to say no, but it was more so of him needing to represent his father and bring in that brother aspect back to it, where it's like, they work so hard to build something. I'm not just going to throw it away because you're offering me something.
Yep.
And that's another key aspect. If it was just him, he probably would have done it. I don't see why I wouldn't have done it. Even if it wound up being not saying that's a good thing, but like, you kind of like when you're out on your own, you don't have anybody else to kind of think about. You might have made a different answer in that circumstance, but he wasn't looking at it through the eyes of himself. He was looking at it through the eyes of
his family.
Of his family, or, broader terms, you could say his team. Which is really a powerful statement, because a lot of people, like, they try and, like, and you can kind of see the duality of somebody who's worked really hard and become widely successful all by himself, which is great and fantastic, and if you want to achieve that, that you can. But there's also the idea of nobody gets to where they are by themselves, and having a team to support you can sometimes be greater than having all the money in the world and being and gaining that by yourself.
Well, and at the same time, I think it's the difference between, do you want to be rich and successful, or do you want to be happy?
Yeah, and that that
you could actually, if you watch Royalton, he never is happy.
No,
does that make sense?
Oh no, he everything is more power, more money.
Yep.
And it's because he doesn't have anyone else to support him and share any of his dreams. In his mind, if he doesn't keep continuing to grow, he will just get chopped down and somebody else will take his place, which is exactly what happens, because there's nobody ever there that, like, even his prime racer, Dark Shadow, Gray Shadow.
No.
Everybody's got
Cannonball Taylor.
Cannonball Taylor doesn't really care about the guy. I mean, you can even tell, like, he was like, I joined this place because I saw all those trophies. Like, I'm just here to win. There was nothing like, if you're here to win, this is the guy to do it. Not, he's the good guy you want on your team. This is the guy that will let you win if that's what you want to do, and that's what he wanted to do.
Yep.
So for as much for as much as a cheesy movie it is, for as much as a child's movie that it is, which it's all those things, it does have a lot of kind of big, like, messages.
It's got a lot of big messages in it.
And not just like the normal, like, family's important, and which there are, and we've talked about that, but those deeper aspects of, like, you know, success on your own, success with a team, loyalty to that team.
Yep.
I mean, it was very similar to, and I know I'm bringing Disney into it, but I got to. But it was a very, like, Cars-esque moment, like at the, like, you know, at Cars it took the whole movie and he did it up front. I mean, the movie was twice as long as Cars, 3 times as long. Where the revelation happened, Cars would have ended, because that's how long the movie is. But they stick with Rust-eze instead of going with the big conglomerate. Anyways, so that all happens, and while that's all happening, and that was not another point that I was confused about, but they had another kid. And so it almost became the reverse of, like, when we saw Speed Racer as a kid looking up to his brother. Was the point. And then now it's
Spritle looking up to Speed.
Which, and I feel bad because we did talk about this, that Rex is alive. He's the kind of the CIA agent or whatever that
Racer X.
Racer X. I know the names. No, I don't. He's the guy that's, like, helping him out throughout the whole caboodle.
Throughout the whole movie,
yeah.
Saves his neck. I don't know how many times.
Yeah, and helps the, who's it? Taijo Todokan. And tries to recruit him and fights a ninja pretty well. I mean,
I love that fight. He kills that ninja.
Yeah.
That ninja dies.
Did he throw him?
He throws him over the couch, and his legs are up on the couch, and then he kicks the couch closed, and his legs go next to his body.
Yeah.
That ninja's dead. Like, we watched him kill somebody.
John Goodman throws
another ninja out of a 50-story building.
Yeah. I like how everyone's just like, yeah!
We've killed some people, alright.
John Goodman was a pro wrestler for 2 minutes. He did, like, pseudoplex him over. It was awesome. This movie had ninjas, which was the last thing I was expecting. Let's see what. So then he says no, and he goes off and does his own thing, and that also confused me, because he, like, is basically like, hey, if you don't join me, I'm gonna ruin your life, and then
all the things he says, those happen.
Yes, because which was weird, because he starts saying what will happen, and they start
doing it.
They start depicting it in reality and
as he's saying it,
imaginatively.
Yes.
So it's imaginatively happening, which we can see, and then it's figuratively happening, we can see, and you really don't know which is which, or if they're both a dream. Then, because I was watching, I was going, oh, it's it's real, it's fake, it's real, it's fake. Is he being destroyed? Is he not being? He's being destroyed. Okay, now that's... Oh, and Sparky is important. All right, then. We're getting this. The picture's coming together. And then they race again, right?
Yes. Because he says, when he, Speed essentially says, you are the devil, and gives him back the suit. And Royalton says one last thing. He goes, now you listen now, and you listen good, kid. He says essentially, I'm going to predict one more thing. You're going to go to Fuji and try to prove everything that I just told you is false. Here's the thing. He says, you're not gonna win. You're not gonna place. I can guarantee you won't even finish the race. And then they go to the race in Fuji with Taijo and Racer X and stuff like that. and the one guy, not a spear hook, but two spears, like two prongs, get into his car, and essentially they ram each other off the thing. So Speed is out. Speed gets knocked out.
Yeah, that. Also, I was really confused. Like it was at first I was like, Mr. Royalton's making like some back alley deal with the company that he just kidnapped the kid. The kid is, it's his son. That whole thing was kind of
Taijo?
Yeah, it was very confused. Like at first I thought he was like a rogue son trying to save his family's business from not being sold. And then it turned out that he was like trying to stop the bad guys, but then he was not really trying to stop them. He was trying to do his own thing.
Well, he was trying to up the price when Royalton bought them out.
Yeah, that was.
This is extortion. I'll sue you.
But that makes sense because he kept saying no to Racer X.
Yep.
Which I thought was... At first I was like, he's trying to do his own thing. He wants to prove something. That's fine. And then he just like kept helping but not giving any information. And I was like, seems weird. But I really didn't see it coming. I had no idea.
Well, neither did any of them. And that's why Speed takes off and is pissed.
And then that's when they hook up and he tries to be like, you are my brother.
You are Rex. You race just like him and everything, yeah.
And then
you showed up, right after he disappeared.
And going back real quick, that was the other thing about another kind of sub message. Like you take this like grand thing like racing, and like the guys, Mr. Royalton's like, you think this is about racing? Like, no, it's about business. Everything's about business. Everything is about money, which is another like subtle like. That's kind of what we see a lot today too. Like most things are in the market of trying to make money. It is not about the thing or it is about selling tickets, selling this, selling that. It's all about the money aspect.
Well, and on that, I mean, I just realized that I love MMA, and one of the biggest fights just happened with Nate Diaz, and I can't remember the other fighter,
and the other guy won, right?
Well, the other guy won because of doctor stoppage.
Because of what?
A doctor's stoppage. The doctor, like, Nate got cut, a good cut. It was a serious cut over his right eye. And the doctor stopped the fight because he believed that it was going to hinder him too much in the fight.
Did you think Nate was going to win?
No. Well, you know what?
The other guy was like a new fighter, right?
Newer fighter, yeah. Nate's been around for forever, but Nate he's just one of the fan favorited fighters, man. He's just because he's so freaking fun to watch. Because he goes in always ready to fight.
I am really shocked that you like MMA.
Love MMA.
That was the first time
I was
hearing about
I was a wrestler in high school, and I did some jiu-jitsu stuff. In fact, in high school, we would actually during practice, if they were done actually having us do practice, we would do sparring matches in Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Now, what? For those who don't know, who are unfamiliar, I know partially. What is MMA? You are allowed to do all types of fighting?
Yes.
So basically anything goes in the ring?
Just about anything goes.
Except for, biting.
Biting, pulling of hair, no groin shots.
Who pulls hair?
Oh, dude, that's a legitimate thing. If you're fighting, like, you can... Pulling hair is a...
I guess that would hurt.
Dude, if they got long hair... Here's a crazy thing that I learned. It's exceedingly hard if someone has literally like your whole freaking mop of hair in their grip and they're pulling on it as hard as they can. It's hard to do anything yourself unless you're able to get their hand and control their own hand. But they can essentially move your head however they want at that point.
How many minutes are the fights?
5-minute rounds. Generally, there's 3 rounds.
Unless
unless it's a title fight. If it's a title fight, there's 5-minute rounds.
But you don't have to fight all 5, right?
If you manage to, so there's 3 ways that a fight. Well, technically 1, 2, 3, 4. Technically 4 ways that a fight can stop. The one way that you really don't want a fight to end is through a doctor's stoppage, which is what happened with Nate Diaz recently, which was a bummer because it was such a good fight. Then there is a submission, which is either one of many different things. There's heel lock, leg lock, in omoplata. You have a Kimura. You have
like a
armbar.
Tap out.
Yes.
Okay.
Then you have TKO, where the ref stops the fight because the other person seems unable to defend themselves anymore. And then you have an actual KO, which is where you have just laid out the other person and they're unconscious.
And is that when like the 10, 9, 8?
No, there's no countdown in MMA.
Oh,
no countdown.
But
if you're knocked out,
who determines,
you are out.
I mean, I guess everybody.
The ref
sees
determines.
The ref determines if you've been KO'd.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There have been some terrible calls by some refs, but most of the time, there's always at least one ref that I want in a fight pretty much every time. That's Big John McCarthy, and he's been in it since the beginning. But he's also the guy that essentially came up with the rules for all of MMA.
The only reason I know anything about MMA is only one that gets talked about on the Joe Rogan podcast, because he's an announcer.
Well, he's also an incredible fighter, too.
That, too.
He's someone you don't want to mess with.
No, I saw this video. There was this podcast where they were talking about, like, the guy was talking about, I watched this video of you kicking, and it's, like, ridiculous. And I'm like, what do you mean? Who's scared of... Like, he's just kicking a bag. It's scary. All right, like I was like, how bad could it really be? Dude, it's like the bag doesn't move, but the bag moves. You know what I mean? Like the bag almost stays still, but the force of his kick, like just set, like the thing just, and then like comes back together. Like, I just feel like all of
It folds.
Yeah, I just feel all of my ribs would just puncture to the other side, and that would be it. That kick looks ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Whew. See, and this is why I don't fight, because no thanks. You don't know what people are capable of.
Heck no.
You have no idea. And look.
And I've gotten my ass beaten in stand-up fights.
You see Joe Rogan.
I'm okay. I'm scrappy. Like, I could probably, if someone is as trained as me, I can certainly hold my own. And in grappling, I'm decent in grappling, which is the ground game.
Groundwork.
That's
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've gotten way off topic.
Yeah, no, I'm cool with it. I've never been interested in MMA until this very moment for some reason. But I'm like, I listen to it on Joe Rogan. I could talk about this.
Oh, MMA.
And this is all I got.
What I love, my biggest reasoning for loving MMA is that it is, at least for men, and now becoming for women, but it is just, it's the pinnacle of competition. It is as
I've heard fight science is ridiculous. Like the amount that, like, it's not only just like training your body and understanding how to fight, but it's also like being able to understand like how to read somebody,
how to just destroy the human body in certain ways. They had Bas Rutten on one of the fight science episodes, I remember, and they wanted to look at one of his palm strikes to the spleen.
Oh, that's right.
So they had a whole upper torso with ribs and organs and everything like that inside of, ballistics gel and everything like that. So it was a whole upper torso. And they had Bas Rutten do one of his open palm strikes to the spleen. And he essentially burst the spleen. Yeah. Like, it is ridiculous.
Who's that, what was that magician? Oh, David Blaine?
David Blaine.
When he took a punch from Kimbo Slice?
Yeah, Kimbo Slice is he's a good puncher. He's got serious power.
But like,
he's an okay fighter. Kimbo's an okay fighter. He kicked the shit out of me.
For sure. Oh yeah, but I mean like, I just like that. I saw that too, and I was like, no, I'm good.
Well, Kimbo's got like these incredibly long arms.
Yeah,
it's kind of a trip to look at him.
Cannons.
Yeah, no, Kimbo has serious strength.
And now I know I'm just gonna start combining a bunch of stuff. But now every time I watch, and I've never seen a fight ever. But like
you've never actually watched an MMA
I've never watched it. Like
before I leave today, we're doing one.
I don't think I've ever, like, I've seen clips, like I've seen a few like KOs every now and again, like via the Joe Rogan podcast, or maybe I'll go and like watch something real quick. But I've never seen like a full fight. Cause like, and a lot, like, to my point earlier about like understanding, like, it wasn't really until I started listening to people talk about MMA and understanding, cause like sometimes you watch a match and you're like, they're not doing anything. Exactly. I'm like,
those are very disappointing fights.
Yeah, but there's also like, but now like I'm getting it more. Like, it's not all about like somebody says go and you just start wailing at the other guy. There's a lot of gauging, there's a lot of head game, there's a lot of strategy that goes into, and like, so now
sometimes it gets thrown out the window.
Yeah, but I think that insight is helping me understand, like, okay, like, I think now that if I tried watching it, I'd be a little bit more engaged. Before, it was like, let's get to the part where he kicks him in the face. Like, let's, you know what I mean? Like, and no offense to MMA, but sometimes, and I think, that's another problem with a lot of, movies that are coming out, and I have a question if I don't lose it. I'll ask it to you. But, a lot of movies are all action-packed, and people want it. They go into a film and you're like, why are these two people talking? Like, just pull out your guns and let's start. I came here to
essentially
see
all of John Wick.
Yeah, which John Wick came out and basically everybody went, I want that all the time. Give me that. And like some movies are still doing it. Like, I cannot believe they pulled off, and I know I've talked about this 1,000 times, and you'll hear it 1,000 times more. Like, Endgame was not a very punchy, action-packed
until the very end.
Which it gave almost a full movie of thank you, like But it was finally a movie where it wasn't all about punchy action.
But you had that question.
Yeah. Remember how, and this has nothing to do, I won't even say his name, but there's been a lot of, I won't say controversy, but basically there's been a lot of Marvel movies aren't real cinema. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, and it's a complete BS thing.
Yeah. And I'm not really going on the line of whether it's BS or not, but it is. We are starting to see a trend of like.
But it also doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, especially when you include like Endgame, like that movie.
I also don't know what their definition of cinema is.
Yeah, and that's okay. Like I'm totally acceptable with you having an opinion that like those movies aren't cinematic. It's your view. Go for it.
But again, what does that mean? What does he mean by cinematic?
Yeah. I think there's a level of artistry from the communications within the story of the actors communicating within the lines of their character and that character building that somehow is getting missed or misportrayed by all the action-y and jokes and things like that. You're taking away from the story.
Wait, were they trying to go off of something with Thor, with Fat Thor or something like that?
No. There was a prominent director who it was just and that's the other hard part about all of this.
It was just a random comment.
It was not that it was a random comment, but it wasn't like he talked about it for 30 minutes.
Right.
Basically, he said, and maybe there's more to it, I don't know. But a lot of what everybody was talking about was just about the 8 words that the guy said, which was Marvel movies isn't cinema. And that's basically the whole quote. What do you do with that?
You simply say, define cinema.
Exactly, and that's the problem. So many people are taking this like one sentence and they're exploding on it, but it's like, we don't know. I mean, honestly...
Again, it's something where we don't know why he said that, and we don't understand what he means by that.
It's fully intended that it is not in the perhaps best light, but it's also not it doesn't tear it down completely or say they shouldn't be made. I guess there is an argument in there somewhere that they're maybe making too many, and now there is too much expansion on something that was basically lightning in a bottle.
Okay, I can get that, but here comes the question though: is what about it isn't cinema? Are you saying that the experiment of so many movies being interconnected into one massive story in and of itself isn't cinema? Because cinema should be essentially one and done movies, or a trilogy, or a saga, 9 movies long at the most, or something like that tells a continual story, instead of several different things that come together to tell a single story. What do you mean by that? So I'm not going to call out the guy, but all we needed was one person to simply ask the question, what do you mean?
Yeah, and maybe he gave it, and again we're running into the scenario where people are taking a snippet and just wanting to see what it causes.
Oh yeah, because context has been thrown out the window in our generation.
Yeah, 100%, and it's here's the other thing. Whether it hurts your feelings or doesn't hurt your feelings, it's somebody's opinion. And here's what I always don't understand. It's say what you want to say, fine. It didn't seem like he was attacking anybody, right? He didn't necessarily...
I mean, if that was literally all that was in the tweet, it could come off that way.
True. But it wasn't like he was... It was an opinion. It was kind of a broad opinion. I don't think it... At the end of the day, it's not going to harm Marvel, right? It's not going to shut them down. It doesn't matter, who you are. And, whoever is saying... Because there have been a lot more... It's now been a topic of conversation.
Well, I mean, have more people actually, sided with that?
Yes, more people have sided for it, and more people have sided against it, which is fine, and they've expanded on it. Some people have...
Yeah, all I want is a definition. What is their definition of cinema?
Well, some have basically just come out and because now the argument has become basically, from what my understanding and from what I've seen, again, could be wrong. Who knows? This is a thing that's going on. That's the other thing. Sometimes you're only dealing with what scope you've seen, right? So we're discussing something, but I've only gotten a few articles here and there, maybe a talk show host talking about it. It's not like I've done insane amounts of research, and most people
aren't
going to, and that's why they get into so many fights in the first place, is because they don't go and do the research. They just go, they either I don't like it or I agree. For the diehards, it's I don't like it, and then it's I must have. That's my problem, is what I'm trying to get to. It's not the fact that he said it or that it shouldn't have been said, not should have been said. It's the fact that every time somebody now says something,
it's not a discussion anymore.
It's a rally.
It becomes a fight.
Yeah, it's a rally. It's that guy's right, and now not only is he right, I have to take that, make it my own, and anybody who doesn't believe that is now
is now my enemy. Yeah.
And it's like, why? Why can't you just here's what I'm finding is this interesting. We get to have a conversation about it,
right,
and decide what we think of that comment. Whether we think Marvel has what's fun about
me simply, I disagree.
Yeah. And what's cool is we're not disagreeing with the person. The person has every right to say whatever he wanted to say. We're
disagreeing
taking
with
the subject,
premise.
exactly, the premise, and going, well, don't agree. Am I gonna go and try and convince everybody? Like, if you were to say I do agree with it, am I gonna sit here and go, Chris, no, here's 1,000 reasons why you're wrong? I might. But my goal would just be to have a conversation, not to incite and make sure you come to my side. I don't get what that's all about.
Unlike our first video where I'm just ranting on The Last Jedi.
Yeah, but remember in that video, this is going to be the first time we get to, and I know none of these have posted yet, but, well, as far as you're aware, they're all posted. But, whatever. This is the fun part about this. They kind of, if they watch all of them, will piece together not the behind the scenes, but the sort of behind the scenes, because we're talking about the whole premise. Because we just started this 6 weeks ago, and 4 of those weeks was watching.
As of the filming of this particular video.
Yeah, we've been shooting for about 6 weeks. It took me about 4 weeks to watch Speed Racer in one sitting. That's how long the film is. It's turned from 18 hours into 6 weeks. I was trying to do the math of what 6 weeks and hours were, and I quickly realized that if I tried, it wouldn't have gone well for anybody. I was like, I got this. What are you doing? Just say 6 weeks. Nobody's impressed. Even if you could do the math, nobody's sitting there going, well, I hope he converts it into hours for all of us at home. All right. Dude, we totally fit the premise of rambling idiots.
Yes, 100%.
This has gone from...
We've gone from Speed Racer to MMA to...
the Star Wars trailer.
The Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we didn't do that.
Anyways.
Oh, don't get me started.
What was I talking about?
We were going to be... I talked about my rant in the first video we did on Star Wars. And you were going to talk about...
I was going to say this is the first time we get to relate back to an old video.
Yeah.
And because even in that, while I didn't like that you didn't like the movie, and yes, I was trying to convince you or persuade you, I was more...
Well, that was both of us. I mean...
But we brought up a topic of perspective. We were just trying to get other...
True.
Because I think the only way you can teach somebody anything is if you give them different perspectives
instead of just giving them reasons why they're wrong.
Yeah, I see, and that's the thing. Even when that comment came out, it wasn't like, yes, I had immediate reaction, but then it was like, okay, immediate reaction, don't like it. And, everybody can have an immediate reaction. It's kind of like you're there with it. But then you kind of go, okay, what's a different angle?
Why would he be saying that, essentially?
Yeah, and to his point, how not just taking it and going, is he right or wrong? And not necessarily going into his mind, because, again, I don't know what the context of what he was saying, but going into the people who would side with him and go, oh, yeah, those Marvel movies are horrible and they suck. I'm fascinated.
Well, and at that point, what does whether or not you like the movie make it cinema, then?
Yeah, I don't know. But I'm just saying, I'm fascinated by the idea of, when I look at something, I go, immediate reaction, I don't agree with that. But then my secondary reaction is to always go, okay, wait a minute. Not to say that you're going to change your mind or that you're going to like it at all in any sense of the means, but you, and I don't want to say, but I feel like for me to, before I move on and make my final conglomeration, I think I owe it to myself to put myself in the other people's shoes and go, okay, if I didn't like it and I did agree with it, why would I? And then from there kind of bounce around a few other places and then make a well-informed decision after I've kind of go. And I'm not trying to do this to convince myself that the other guys are right, but I'm also doing it to create a common ground between them. So that if I ever have a discussion, I can at least be like, hey, I get it. From your point of view, this, and this may be right. This is how I view it. However, can we find these commonalities that we might be able to have a discussion on it where we're not going at each other's throats over a movie?
Or if we can just go, let's see if we can convince the other of their points.
Yeah, because some people, and that's the other thing, that some people, it's cool to think one way and then go, I was wrong, or I really like what he's talking about, and switch. And that was one of the reasons why I liked Harley Morenstein's video so much, is because he was more involved of showing you different perspectives and different ideas, and also saying, if you don't like this movie, you don't have to like this movie. I'm not here to tell you to like this movie. I'm just telling you that if you want to get in it and play the he said, she said, this character did this character did this, I will jump into that and do that. But you can do that in a friendly way, which is what I think people in discussion should do more. But, that's... Well,
now it's become whoever can shout the loudest wins.
I know, doesn't your voice get tired? I mean, and that's just... I know that sounds stupid, but it's like, I mean, like, honestly, like, if you were to yell all the time, no one's going to really hear you. Yep. Anytime I hear somebody yell, I immediately try and block out that noise. Right?
Yeah.
As soon as I live in an apartment complex. Everybody lives basically right next door. It's one big house. A dog starts barking, it is throughout the entire complex. So the first thing you do, shut all the windows, turn the TV on louder, like anything to block out that noise. Dog could bark louder. You're just going to keep turning up whatever you're turning up. And it's the same thing on the internet. You yell, somebody else goes, oh, you didn't hear me? All caps. Oh, you didn't hear me? All caps bold. Oh, you didn't like this. And nobody's listening to each other.
All caps bold, italicized. All caps bold, italicized, underlined.
Thank goodness you had more, because I was like, how long can I keep this going for? 3? All right, that's not very many. Every time I think, it's when I start having an internal thought where I realize I'm running out of road. Because when at first I was like, bam, 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 and I was like, oh, I'm running out. Oh, I'm really running out. It's like an immediate. I digress.
But here's the thing: I can usually read your mind pretty good on where you're going.
That's pretty true. See, and this is why we're doing this. Oh, the photo's not there. Well, it's kind of there. Is the photo crooked?
No, I had to move that so that.
Oh, okay.
So that we were centered, not I was centered.
Got it. Word. So, at the end of the day, Speed Racer, not that bad of a film. Surprisingly watchable 12 years later.
Oh, I enjoy the heck out of it.
Like, for someone who's never seen it, not bad. It's a good family film, for sure.
Yes.
For sure. Like,
if you have young to young adult kids, like, it's just a fun movie.
Oh, yeah.
Because the entire thing is a spectacle.
And what's the little kid's name?
Spritle.
Spritle is... He has the perfect amount of comic relief. That character was really well written into the story, because he wasn't very... I'm not going to say that he wasn't not helpful, but he wasn't like an anchor to the movie. You know what I mean? Like, right. It wasn't like you take him out, it wasn't like the whole thing falls apart. But at the same time...
There would be something missing.
The comedy would be missing, but the other thing that I thought was weird, or that didn't make sense, was... So when Speed Racer's having that meeting with Mr. Royalton.
Yep.
The kid, when he's come back, when Speed Racer's come back to deliver his no speech, the kid sneaks on to the plane because he's trying to get to the candy bar.
Yep.
Awesome. Who wouldn't? That candy bar was ridiculous. If one
she said we can have some.
Yeah, like the look on his face when he was when John Goodman. It's still. He was like, you can only have one apiece. It's like one apiece. What the? Next time, let's not bring him on the. Because this is all. So he stows away on the plane.
It's a ship.
That thing's ridiculous. It's got like not a skylight, but a floor skylight,
floor window.
A
floor skylight.
It's a description. I didn't say it was a good one, but it's a description.
Mr. Royalton's plane.
Yeah. He sneaks on.
It's a ship.
What's with the monkey?
Chim Chim?
Yeah. What? It's never explained.
I don't know.
All of a sudden, there's
I honestly don't remember if there was ever actually even an explanation within the anime.
There was no monkey, then there was a monkey, and it just followed the youngest around like they were best friends.
They are best friends.
It was almost like...
I still think my favorite little moment with them was when they were trying to watch Speed, and they had to change the channel when Pops walked in, and they're watching something with other chimps on it, and he goes, "What you watching?" We're watching Chim Chim's favorite show. It's his favorite show. He goes, "It's in German, not the monkey parts."
Like, come on, Dad. I don't know why I'm making this connection, but they're almost like, and nowhere, like they are the G-est rated version of these two characters. But I almost want to, I don't know why, I'm just going to say it. Stewie and the
Brian.
Dog. Like they're almost
Chim and Spritle.
like in the most like childish, not really connected, but you kind of.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Like if you've
the
seen
mischief they get into. Yes,
the mischief they get into. Like at one point,
I mean, Chim and Spritle are not going to go back in time and mess with Hitler, but
no. But what they will do
with a Jewish priest
is go on a sugar rush, rock and roll. Driven.
Oh yeah, God! And with what's the song?
I have no idea.
Sweet Child of Mine?
It could have been. I wasn't really paying attention to the song because all I see is a monkey driving a super fast golf cart.
Yep.
Barely missing
a whole bunch of workers.
Almost killing a bunch of people.
And Spritle doing his best Austin Powers imitation, going, "Move! Move!"
And Spritle is doing that and standing up while this thing is going way too fast.
Oh, and they
doing an air guitar.
Yes.
That was the most... And then they stumble onto the restricted area.
Spearhook.
And see the spearhook. But, which I guess was like the full indication to the audience of, hey, this guy's bad. But I thought he was going to in some way inform them that was going on.
Right.
But that didn't really happen. Like, it wasn't really until, like, I guess, like, Speed Racer figured out, like, okay, this guy's clearly bad. He'll clearly do anything to win.
Yep.
Speed hooks must be involved.
It's not even necessarily something he would need to think about because he's just going Royalton bad at this point.
Yes. It doesn't matter whether it was a spear hook or a gun.
Yeah.
Like, he knew something was off. Very smart.
Clarification, spear hook is like a thing that comes down from the bottom of the car and attaches to the other one so that they can't get away.
Yes. It was a very crude method of destruction.
Oh, it was such a cool idea, though.
Isn't that what was used to, quote unquote, kill Rex? Or
No. It was just that...
Who else got spear hooked?
Spear hooked?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone else actually got spear hooked. It was just a device. But Speed gets messed up with something similar to that in Fuji.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the one race he doesn't do very well in.
Yeah.
Other than that, like, he's pretty...
Well, he does well, but everyone's gunning for him.
Yes. Yeah. But other than that, like, and still, like, incredible racing again. Like, it is
Can you... How much do you want to race on those tracks?
It was very much Hot Wheels on steroids.
Yep.
And then at one point...
And then, did you actually remember hearing just how fast they're going, too?
No.
At almost all times. They're going, like, over 600 miles an hour or something like that at all times.
Ramming each other, like... Any modern car would be destroyed. You can't hit something going that fast, and for it to not mess with the.
Some of them are going like the speed of
car.
sound too.
Yeah.
Some of them are going like 740 miles an hour or something like that.
It's really ridiculous. I'm just pulling up my notes real quick to make sure I got everything. Although it was all in the beginning of the movie. Him and the monkey driving the cart. Kid on the overdose.
What's your last one there? Where is...
Trixie's parents.
Oh, you had that, okay.
Yeah. I was like, did she move in?
Follow your dreams. Don't let anyone get in front of you, even if it's money, even if there's money involved.
Futuristic, outside but modern. His name
is... you got all that stuff.
Yeah. I got it. I did it all.
What'd you think of the final race?
No, but even before that, it was really, again, 2 hours and 15 minutes. They really literally give you everything you could possibly want. Because at first you're like, wow, these tracks, like, they've got jumps, they've got, like, roundabouts, they've got circles, you can, like, drive upside down, they've got the one car...
Crazy twists like this.
They've got one car that's got, like, the...
Oh, all the cars, that is a thing for all the cars. They all have... They all have jumpers. That like allow them to go in various directions, up, down, and sideways. And you can choose which jumpers to do at any one point. So you can choose both your left jumpers to make your car do a barrel roll to flip sideways. You can choose the back ones to make your car flip forward or backwards with the front, or you can choose just one to make your car do a weird invert. You know.
I got that Star Fox reference.
Thank you.
Just. Do a barrel roll. I don't know how that would create shields. Like, that never made any sense. All of a sudden,
funny enough, Star Fox was one I never understood, even though I played it. I still didn't get the game right.
No, do a barrel roll. I can deflect bullets? Do a barrel roll? Like, what is this? This is awesome. Barrel roll. Oh, it doesn't deflect missiles. All right. So there is limitations on what it can and can't do. Anyways, But I'm getting to something similar to that. It was like, okay, here's all this crazy stuff that they're doing on the tracks, going super fast. Oh, you thought that was enough? We're going to introduce a car that has... We're going to introduce a motorhome that has, like... That's like a
It's actually a giant truck.
It's a giant truck that on the inside looks like a
posh
1930s like gangster room that even has, like, you would imagine, because like at one point, like, this car Racer X, who's got all, it's like a secret agent car, it's got all these gadgets,
guns on that car, man.
Guns.
That's completely something out of freaking Hot Wheels.
All this crazy stuff, and like even the super truck, it had, like, just like you would see in like a 1930s-esque like gangster establishment, had all these like secret windows you could open up so that you could shoot out of. And then of course, like, the whole front end turned out to be this giant like missile launcher. I'm sitting here watching this. I'm going, wasn't this a show about racing? What is this secret agent thing going on all of a sudden? Okay, like, it's cool.
Now, do you remember who that gangster was and why they were going after him?
Yeah, he's like the guy that's involved with Mr. Royalton.
He's a fixer.
He's the fixer for the people.
Yes.
Okay. I was like, okay, that's cool. Like in terms of like that, like Racer X's storyline, that all tracks because he's like a CIA agent. He's trying to uncover everything.
Yep.
That you're all good. And so you're like, wow, that was really awesome. They had they did something extra with the cars that you didn't really like. In a normal movie, you could have scaled that out and just stuck with the racing because it did have all the lights and all that stuff. Then they go, oh, you like that? We'll give you like 3 days of that. Because then they take you to this like back alley race.
Conte Cristo.
The cross country race for them to win. So if you won that gave you the ticket. So
that gave you a pass to actually enter the big race.
Okay, that makes
the Grand Prix
more sense. But then his car gets all dialed up with...
The Mach 5 gets dialed up.
The Mach 5 gets dialed up with all
Which is his quote-unquote street car.
Yeah, that's not street like, not to mention all the things they add to it.
The Mach 5's your car.
But that thing should not be street legal in any sense of the means. But then it gets, and there were, I don't know.
Casa Cristo, that's what it was, not Conte Cristo. Casa Cristo.
I always find myself, like when I react poorly to something, it's probably a good habit at the end of the day. But I have this my immediate reaction is to automatically defend my opposition. So anytime I watch something and I don't like it, I immediately try to give it the benefit of the doubt.
So what had you give
So there were a couple things during that, and understandably so, because there is a lot going on. There are every car's got a gizmo or a weapon, or at one point one guy just pulls out a gun and was like, this is the only
snake oil.
This is all I got left. But at one point, like the acting in the car gets a little grainy for me because they're like, yeah, and I'm like, you're in a car, you shouldn't be doing that. But then my immediate thought, because like I said, I try to give the immediate benefit to the opposition. You
try to come up with an argument against your own reasoning.
Because, just because I have a thought or opinion doesn't mean it's right, and I feel it's my due diligence to look at the other side and make sure that I've understood that point of view.
And I appreciate that.
And my immediate was like, and it can be the dumbest argument as long as there's something for the other side. And the first thing that I was like, okay, well, he is going at like insane speeds, that could be. There are explosions going on. There is other forces at play.
Oh, and you can think of it this way. In that particular race, they're essentially using their cars as extensions of themselves.
Yeah.
It's become car fu.
Yeah, it was very...
First we had gung fu in all of the action movies, with guns. Now with this movie you have car fu.